With common sense for the Commonwealth, it's the John Fredericks Morning Show. Like us on Facebook. Follow John on the new Twitter handle @JF Radio Show. And online, the website, thejohnfredericsshow.com. Listen online anywhere, anytime at washingtontimes.com/listen. And make a note of the new call-in number, toll-free at 888-480-JOHN. That's 888-480-5646. Now, with common sense for the Commonwealth, here's John Fredericks.
Good morning and welcome to the John Fredericks Show, Common Sense for the Commonwealth, Virginia's only statewide radio network. We're broadcasting from the nation's capital and blasting our way through Virginia, covering it like the dew. This is the voice of Virginia. We're the adults in the room. A major transportation breakthrough. Is it possible? Can it be done? Is it happening? Yes, after 30 years, for the first time, Virginia could see a major overhaul in how the state pays for transportation projects and maybe fix our roads. Negotiators in the House and the Senate reached a tentative compromise on Wednesday. Here's the bottom line. If passed as is, we're looking at potentially $860 million annually going to transportation to get us out of this crisis. $3.5 billion over a 5-year period. How are they going to do this? Well, basically 3 ways. They're going to take some money out of the general fund. They're going to increase the sales tax by 0.3%, and they're going to replace the 17.5% outdated gasoline tax with a 3% wholesale gasoline tax, 6% on diesel. There's also a $100 alternative fuel tax. Taxes going to go up, but there is a proverbial light now at the end of the never-ending transportation tunnel of darkness. Joining us now, a key architect in this compromise is Virginia House of Delegates Speaker William Howe. Mr. Speaker, great to have you with us, sir.
Thank you. It's great to be with you.
And give us kind of your thoughts right now on this plan as it stands.
Well, you explained it pretty well. It's something that we've been working on for a while. It's a comprehensive, long-term funding solution that I think addresses Virginia's critical transportation needs for the next 10 or 20 years. We invest about $3.5 billion statewide in Virginia's transportation network over the next 5 years, and that's going to allow us to update our infrastructure and help with these congestion problems that the people in Hampton Roads and Northern Virginia particularly have, but it's going to allow benefits all across the Commonwealth.
Mr. Speaker, this compromise is immediately coming under fire by conservatives and some Republicans as nothing more than just another big government, big spending tax increase. And what are your thoughts on that?
Well, actually, it's not. It's what it does is it's revenue neutral pretty much in the first year for all of Virginia, except for Northern Virginia and Hampton Roads, and I'll come back to them in a minute. But it lowers the gasoline tax about 7 cents a gallon and raises the sales tax by 0.3%, basically. And there's a titling fee increase for people who buy cars. But that aside, people should see their gas prices going down. Studies have shown that about 90-95% of a tax cut in gasoline goes straight to the purchaser. So hopefully we're going to see a price of gas come down a not insignificant amount, and statewide is going to generate about $850 million. And the main purpose in that is to eliminate this very significant problem that we were approaching, where all of the construction money had to be used for maintenance, for filling potholes and things like that. And we're going to replace this maintenance fund and free up more money for construction across Virginia. In Northern Virginia and Hampton Roads, we are allowing them to levy an additional sales tax that stays in Northern Virginia. It's raised in Northern Virginia, stays in Northern Virginia, raised in Hampton Roads, stays down there. And these are the two areas with unique transportation problems. Northern Virginia, of course, has just a lot of people and a lot of congestion.
Right.
Hampton Roads has a lot of rivers, and you need a lot of tunnels and bridges and very expensive mega projects. So this really addresses both of their needs, and at the same time doesn't burden the rest of the state with helping with that necessarily.
Speaker Howell, one of the issues with this compromise as it stands right now is there's not a lockbox provision. And so there's many conservatives like myself that like the idea, but the fear is that we're going to get this extra dollars come in, $3.5 billion over a 5-year period. What assurances do Republicans and conservatives have that indeed the money raised is going to go 100% for transportation?
Well, you have two assurances. One, there is a lockbox provision that's going to pass the House. It's not over at the Senate now, and I think that should pass. That puts in the Constitution that we will not raid money from the Transportation Trust Fund or borrow money from the Transportation Trust Fund. But then secondly, and equally important, I think you're just going to have the assurance of the Republican majority that it is something that we won't do.
What about the fact that, Mr. Speaker, the regional transportation provision that both Northern Virginia and the Hampton Roads area would be able to have supplemental tax increases to augment their own transportation, but the way this is written right now, as we understand it, it's not approved by a referendum. It's basically an authority can decide what your new taxes are to fund something or the other. Do you think that's problematic?
Well, actually, as I understand it, what happens is that both Northern Virginia and Hampton Roads will have the authority to levy that full amount of the increase in the tax. It's not really it doesn't require a referendum. It doesn't require local governments requesting that. We're giving them the authority to do that, and I'm confident they both will do it. And again, it's important to note that this money that's raised in Northern Virginia stays in Northern Virginia. The money that's raised in Hampton Roads stays in Hampton Roads and used for their unique projects.
Now, what about the concept, Speaker, that we've had one candidate running for lieutenant governor on our show earlier, businessman, entrepreneur Pete Snyder, who says, hey, all this is a big government tax increase, and we can get the same $900 million by cutting government by 10% just across the board, basically, and then targeting that money for transportation. Is that a realistic alternative?
No, I really don't think so. I think that's kind of naive, and that's the sort of thing I guess you say on the stump. But a 10% cut is pretty draconian. We're spending. We've cut our spending in Virginia significantly over the last couple of years, and this economy is so fragile that we've had to cut spending, and we're below 2008 levels still in some categories, and so I don't think there's room for additional cutting. We've tried that over the last several years, and actually we've done a significant amount for transportation over the last couple of years with funding some of these mega projects, like helping to fund the express lanes around 495 and coming down 95,
right?
Things like that. And it's also important to recognize that we got $200 million out of the general fund that is going to transportation. A lot of people are concerned about taking even $200 million from the general fund because it is money that otherwise might go to something else. But transportation is clearly, in my mind, a core responsibility of state government, just like K-12 or just like Health and Human Services, and so it's appropriate to use some of the general fund money for transportation.
Common Sense News Time coming up on 8:20 here on the John Frederick Show. Editorial Director Steve Ray along with John this morning, and we are talking to the Speaker of the House of Delegates here in the Commonwealth, William Howell. Speaker Howell, since Governor McDonnell has the opportunity to tinker with this, fine-tune it, if you will, once it goes through both houses, and then send it back to the House for approval, do you see, in order to get this piece of business done, another extended session as we've had almost every year over the past decade?
At the reconvene session?
Yes, sir.
No, I don't think so. I think the governor's very supportive. The governor has been leading on this idea. You remember, I remember several of us talking to him in November, and he wanted to put in this transportation package, and several of us said, "Gee, I don't think we've had time to to put together the coalition necessary. And he said, well, let's do it anyway. And we did it. And he's been a driving force behind it, and he's been very helpful. I think he's going to be very supportive of this concept. That's not to say that he may find some tweaks that he can make. That he really should. That's appropriate in the next 30 days after the bill is signed to take a look at it. But I don't think he's going to make major rewrites of it.
Certainly, that's actually what I was pointing to, the fine-tuning of it, if it can't get through in its, or if it does get through in its current form. Now, since the lieutenant governor cannot break the tie in the state Senate on budget or revenue bills, do you see any major hurdles on the other side of the State House there, particularly as it goes to some of the roadblocks that, say, Dick Sesla has put up in the past?
Well, two things on that. Excuse me. I have enough problem managing the House, and I really don't look at the much control over the Senate. But I will say that Janet Howell, who is a close ally of Dick Sesla, and B, not in the conservative wing of the Virginia State Senate, was one of the conferees and signed onto the conferee's compromise.
So you have complete confidence that in the next 2 days we can get this major piece of people's business done without too many hiccups here?
That's what I'm hopeful for, yes.
Thank you. John?
Mr. Speaker, do you have 51 votes in the House?
Yes.
You do?
Yes.
So basically it's up to the state Senate. Now, we know right offhand there's several state senators. One of them we know running for lieutenant governor is going to vote no. So we're going to have to see how this plays out. But it seems that without Governor McDonnell driving this process, as you said earlier, he said, hey, let's get this done anyway. Without him, do you think we'd be in the spot we are now with this bill?
If he hadn't been leading from the start?
Yes.
No, we wouldn't. We would not be where we are.
At the end of the day, is the House Republican caucus prepared to defend itself against what I predict is going to be a right-wing conservative onslaught against this bill?
Sure.
And I'm speaking as a conservative.
Yeah, well, I'm a conservative as well. This is probably going to be the first program like this I've voted for in 25 years. But the bottom line is we're at a near crisis point where funding is running out for new construction all across the Commonwealth. This is a reasonable plan. It doesn't. An average family statewide might save $70 or so from lower prices at the pump. We're going to help to eliminate congestion in Northern Virginia and Hampton Roads. It's going to save a lot of money. This is a good plan. It's a solution. This is the difference between Richmond and Washington. In Washington, they've got a lot of problems, and they pontificate, and they don't solve those problems. In Virginia, we address the problems, and I think this is a good compromise, if you will, but it's a good solution that's going to move us forward. The governor said repeatedly that there's going to be parts of the bill you like and parts of the bill you're not crazy about, and that's probably what a lot of people can say about this transportation package. But I think the bottom line is it's going to do a lot to address some of these very serious problems we've had with transportation infrastructure and that have been growing.
And we've been speaking to House of Delegates Speaker William Howell here live from Richmond, and quite frankly, eye-opening exchange here, Speaker Howell. And of course, if this hadn't gone through, it would have been a domino effect on many other issues here in the Commonwealth. So we thank you for the time this morning. It's quite often too long between your visits, and we hope you'll come back again soon.
Thank you, sir.
I will come back as soon as you invite me, and I really appreciate it.
You got it. Thank you, sir.
Thanks very much.
Speaker
Bye-bye.
William Howell, live from Richmond here on the John Frederick Show. Still to come, we have added to the lineup this morning on this very important edition of the John Frederick Show, Virginia State Senator Ralph Northam, the Democrat from the 6th District. Back in a short 90 seconds.
When news breaks in Washington, it breaks fast, faster than most media can keep up with, but right in step with WashingtonTimes.com. From Capitol Hill to the White House to the Pentagon and all around the world, you'll get up-to-the-moment news, opinion, and conservative commentary from the journalists at the Washington Times. Set your homepage on WashingtonTimes.com. The Washington Times. Fearless reporting, American values.
Your morning fix includes a cup of coffee, but it's still missing something. RedState.com's Morning Briefing, a must-read for policymakers and those in the grassroots of the conservative movement. Eric Erickson, the editor of RedState.com, the #1 conservative to follow on Twitter, according to both Politics Daily and Politico. Publishing at 4:45 every morning, not only reporting the news, but breaking news. Sign up for free now. Go to RedState.com/Morning Briefing.
Hi, I'm Mike Watson, president of CatLab Accredited Calibration Laboratories. If your job is to ensure the integrity of instrumentation in your facility, you know the importance of a reliable calibration lab. Your company is serious about quality and compliance and relies on your expertise for both. So when it comes to the accuracy of your test equipment, you can rely on us. CatLab is accredited, prompt, and local, and since 1989 has partnered with manufacturers around the globe. Built by technicians for technicians. Visit CatLab at catlab.net.
Common Sense News Time now, 8:26 here on the John Frederick Show. This morning we have had very interesting conversations with lawmakers and newsmakers from around the Commonwealth on this transportation issue. We started off this morning with former Virginia State Senator Jean Marie Davis. We spoke to the Virginian Pilot Richmond correspondent right there at the State House, Julian Walker. Of course, we had one of the candidates for the GOP nomination for Virginia Lieutenant Governor, Pete Snyder, on. The Lieutenant Governor himself, Bill Bolling, was with us at 7:40. And, of course, if you just tuned in, you just missed, from the Virginia General Assembly, the Speaker of the House of Delegates, William Howell. And we have added to the lineup, as I noted before we went into the break, Virginia State Senator Ralph Northam, the Democrat from the 6th District, who will be with us at 8:40. And by the way, a note, John, the entire show this morning will go up on our Facebook page and YouTube channel. So if you missed any of this program, you'll be able to hear the show in its entirety in 3 blocks there on YouTube and Facebook. Our pleasure to do it. John?
I tell you what, Speaker Howell, William Howell, Speaker of the House of Delegates in Virginia, very, very enlightening. Here's basically what he said. He's got 51 votes in the House. This thing's going to pass the House. Done. That right from the Speaker. You can put that one in the bank, cash the check. Here's the other thing he said. In the state Senate, one of the conferees, Janet Howell, a liberal Democrat, okay, so if she's going down for this, he was confident that Dick Saslaw was going to be on the team, and we know that there's at least one state senator that is going to vote no, and that is State Senator Republican Steve Martin, also a candidate for lieutenant governor. He is going to vote this thing down. So they're going to need all the Democrats and another Republican or 2, because we know at least one is going to vote no. We'll have to see how it shapes up. We're going to ask Dr. Northam when he comes on, if he's on board with us. Here's the other interesting thing that the Speaker said. The two very other interesting thing I want to make point of is that he didn't think that Governor McDonnell was going to do a massive tinkering, if you will, with this.
Right, no tweakage.
No tweakage, and that he thought this thing could get done in 2 days, and then in 7 days Bob McDonnell could sign it into law. The other thing that the Speaker said is that they, in the caucus, are prepared for the right-wing conservative onslaught, calling this thing a tax and spend boondoggle. I don't think it is. I'm a conservative. But if you're not willing to stand up to that, you're going to wither. That's coming down the pike. Fasten your seatbelts. This is the John Frederick Show.
Coming up on 6:30 here on the John Frederick Show, our window on the weather around the Commonwealth, brought to you by Renewal by Anderson Windows. Save $1,000 on Renewal by Anderson replacement windows. Call them today. 800-779-4700. Again, 800-779-4700. 31 street level degrees, highs reaching the mid-40s midday in Virginia Beach at WHKT. 30 even degrees right now, with highs only in the mid-40s for Richmond and Central Virginia at WLEE. 29 degrees right now, highs in the upper 40s midday in Lynchburg and Roanoke at WBRG, our newest affiliate. And 28 degrees, highs only in the upper 30s today in the nation's capital at our flagship WTNT. On the way, Virginia State Senator Dr. Ralph Northam, the Democrat from the 6th District. Common Sense News Time, 8:30. Now Commonwealth Headlines with Ken Johnson. Good morning once again, Ken.
Good morning, John and Steve. Good morning, everybody. One of the largest military contractors in the Commonwealth, BAE Systems Ship Repair, has sent letters to employees in Norfolk and 4 other states saying that they may have to lay off more than 3,500 people if the Navy cuts $4.6 billion in ship repairs this year. As many as 1,600 workers in Norfolk alone can be laid off. Any decision on whether to formally notify workers that they are being discharged will hinge on whether the Navy follows through with plans to cancel almost $500 million in ship repairs from April to September because of the budget shortfall. Pentagon officials say they are reviewing an Esquire magazine article on a Navy SEAL's account of his role in the May 2011 raid that killed Osama bin Laden to determine whether the account discloses any classified information. The identity of the SEAL is not revealed in the Esquire article, but the team involved in the raid is based in Virginia Beach. As for information leaked, it may be too late since the article was published online February the 11th. The account is not the first to portray details of the raid. Former SEAL Matt Bissonette, writing under the pseudonym Mark Owen, described the operation in his book, No Easy Day, published last September. While the Pentagon objected to what it called his unwarranted disclosures, no legal action has been taken against him. After a great deal of political wrangling and debate over numerous proposals, a deal to generate an additional $880 million for state road building efforts was sealed between the two small groups of legislators who have been negotiating the plan over the past 4 days. Compromise legislation converts Virginia's 17.5 cents per gallon motor fuels tax to wholesale taxes on gas and diesel, increases to 5.3% the state sales tax, imposes higher registration fees on alternative fuel vehicles, and raises the titling tax on automobile sales. The package also includes regional funding components for Hampton Roads in Northern Virginia to be paid for with additional wholesale gas and sales tax hikes in those regions. There's also a $100 fee on alternative fuel vehicles such as hybrids and a rate increase on the titling tax on car sales. When Virginians go to the polls to cast their votes after July 1st, 2014, they will have to present a photo identification card, such as a driver's license or student ID card issued by a university, under a bill that passed the General Assembly yesterday. If someone does not have a photo ID, the measure requires the local registrar's office to provide one. The bill, passed the House largely along party lines, still requires approval from Governor Bob McDonnell. Legislation pushed by Governor McDonnell to allow the state to take over chronically failing schools has received final General Assembly approval. The Senate previously passed the measure on a tie-breaking vote by Lieutenant Governor Bill Bolling. It now goes to McDonnell for his signature. Louisiana's Recovery School District served as the model for the proposal to create an opportunity education institution to take control of failing schools and try to turn them around. 6 schools currently meet the criteria for state takeover, most of them in Norfolk. In Louisiana, 77% of students in New Orleans were attending failing schools in 2005. That's been reduced to 29% now. The House has voted to repeal the 1950 Virginia law making it illegal for unmarried couples to live together. While the law calls for a $500 fine for a first offense up to a year in jail for subsequent infractions, unmarried couples living together have rarely been prosecuted in recent years. Besides, the U.S. Supreme Court has deemed the law unconstitutional. The bill will now go to Governor McDonnell, who has said he supports the repeal. State and local news brought to you by the Chris Weaver Real Estate Team, your Virginia real estate leader. Whether you're buying, selling, or leasing, get it done by the team that gets it done right. ChrisWeaver.com. KRISWeaver.com.
WTNT Traffic and Weather brought to you by Washington's Best Tennis Boot Camp. Find it at rjtennis.com. That's rjtennis.com.
Traffic is brought to you by Dymatap. 95 Virginia, late delays both directions going through Fredericksburg. Had problems southbound, south of 17, and northbound before Route 3. Both should be out of traffic now. 95 north will slow again in Dale City, and then again on 395 as you leave Springfield up toward Shirlington and from the Pentagon to the 14th Street Bridge. Montgomery County Beltway, outer loop slowing from 95 over to Georgia Avenue. Slow traffic southbound on 270 from Germantown down past Shady Grove Road. Northwest Washington, accident reported at Cathedral Avenue near Massachusetts Avenue. This cold and flu season, choose Dymatap to help your kids feel better. Fast, effective relief of cold, cough, and flu symptoms. Dymatap has formulas you can trust, including Dymatap Cold and Cough and Dymatap Multi-Symptom Cold and Flu, each with a great grape taste. Breathe easier with Dymatap. I'm Robert Workman with WTNT Traffic.
I own a replacement window company, and I'm saying don't replace all your windows right now. I'm Kevin Shakin, one of the local owners of Renewal by Andersen. In this weather, customers are replacing only their very worst windows. So how do you determine your draftiest windows? Renewal by Andersen conducts an in-home thermal draft detector test, and with our infrared technology, we pinpoint your most energy-wasting windows. The test is free, and when you replace your 5 worst windows, you save $1,000. With 0 money down, 0 payments, and 0 interest for 1 year. Get a free thermal draft detector test and save $1,000. For a free Renewal by Andersen brochure or DVD, call 1-800-779-4700. 1-800-779-4700. 1-800-779-4700. That's 1-800-779-4700.
Offer not available in all areas.
Contractors in Northern Virginia already feel the chill of sequestration? Learn how to diversify and adapt to new economic realities during the Prince William Chambers GovCon Industry Day on Friday, March 8th. Visit www.govconday.com to view the agenda, including keynotes by Sean Crean, Director of Navy Small Business Programs, and noted economist Dr. Stephen Fuller. Register today at www.govconday.com.
Higher debt ceilings, higher taxes, more government spending, and even more traffic on our roads. The stakes are getting higher for us, but the politics in Washington and Richmond are getting smaller and more petty. Did you hear the latest? Liberal career politician Dick Saslaw, the Virginia Senate Democrat leader, says any hope of solving Virginia's transportation problems is dead on arrival. He won't even try. Why? Because Dick Saslaw puts insider politics over solving our transportation problems. That's not just wrong, it's pathetic. Saslaw and the Democrats should be ashamed. No wonder people are sick and tired of career politicians and politics as usual. It's time for a change. An outsider, technology entrepreneur Pete Snyder is just the guy to get the job done. Pete Snyder is a job creator, an innovator, a conservative problem solver. Pete Snyder for Lieutenant Governor.
Paid for and authorized by Pete Snyder for Lieutenant Governor.
Is now the time for me to buy a house? And can I afford it? Great questions. Keep asking them until you're sure you know the answer. Join Joe Arroyo, Dave Ramsey's financial coach for D.C. and Virginia, and daily radio show host for a Buy Smart, Borrow Smart homebuyer workshop, February 28th at Tyson's. Learn about buying versus renting, how much home you can afford, how to find big value buys, market changes for 2013, navigating the loan process, and what to expect from day one to closing. Go to buysmartborrowsmart.com to register now. buysmartborrowsmart.com. The workshop is free, but space is limited. buysmartborrowsmart.com. Register early for a chance to win a $500 IKEA gift card. Everyone leaves with a valuable gift, along with the knowledge to buy with confidence and financial peace of mind. Go to buysmartborrowsmart.com now. Register and join Joe this February 28th at Tyson's.
For news you won't find anywhere else, turn to the pages of the Washington Times for exclusive coverage of the budget crisis, defense, national security, and more. Much more. The Washington Times brings you news and opinion on issues often ignored by the mainstream media. For home delivery, call 202-636-3333 or visit WashingtonTimes.com. The Washington Times and WashingtonTimes.com. Fearless reporting, American values.
With common sense for the Commonwealth, it's the John Fredericks Morning Show. Like us on Facebook. Follow John on the new Twitter handle @JF Radio Show. And online, the website, thejohnfredericksshow.com. Listen online anywhere, anytime at washingtontimes.com/listen. And make a note of the new call-in number, toll-free at 888-480-JOHN. That's 888-480-5646. Now, with common sense for the Commonwealth, here's John Fredericks.
Good morning and welcome back to the John Fredericks Show, Common Sense for the Commonwealth, Virginia's only statewide radio network. We're broadcasting deep inside the nation's capital and blasting our way through Virginia. We are the voice of Virginia, this voice of reason. We're the adults in the room.
Or so they say.
A transportation breakthrough.
Yes.
Unbelievable. After 30 years, that's over a quarter century, with no transportation plan in sight, everything getting shot down, bridges crumbling, tunnels congested, can't get from point A to point B, companies fleeing our state. We're facing transportation economic Armageddon. Finally, we get what looks like a transportation breakthrough. There is a God. For the first time since 1986, Virginia could see a major overhaul in how the state pays for transportation projects. Very quickly, there's a compromise. Here's how it works. If it goes through, it could target $860 million annually towards Virginia's roads, $3.5 billion over a 5-year period. How do they get the money? A 0.3% increase in your sales tax, the 17.5 per gallon gasoline tax goes away. That gets replaced by a 3% wholesale gas price. What that means, basically, it's a dime. You're going to save about 7 cents right there. There's a $100 alternative fuel car tax. If you buy a hybrid, you pay an extra $100. And also, $200 million is going to come out of the general fund. Just got a text here from 1st District Democrat Senator John Miller, who has been fighting for this for ages. Just
was on earlier, yes.
Yes, just text me, said, John is fighting a good fight down there in the Virginia Beach area. John Miller says, hey, it's not the perfect bill, but I'm voting for it. And so we got one right there. Just had on a Speaker of the House, William Howell, who said unequivocally he's got 51 votes in the House. So it's going to come down to the state Senate whether or not this is going to pass. And live with us now is State Senator Ralph Northam, M.D. He is a Democrat from the 6th District of Virginia. He also is one of 2 candidates running for lieutenant governor for the Democratic nomination. That'll be decided in an open primary in June. Senator, great to have you with us.
It's great to be with you, John. I hope you're doing well.
We're doing fine. Let's get right to this transportation compromise. We know you've had a chance to look at it. You're part of the Virginia Common Sense Caucus, along with Senator Miller. How does this thing stack up right now?
Well, I think we're in good shape, and I think you gave a good overview of the plan, John. And as you know, and I know your listeners know, we've hit crunch time in Virginia. We've put this off year after year, as you said, since 1986. And just for the economy of Virginia, I think that the legislators up here know how important it is. We've worked, both sides of the aisle. I think have come together for this, and I think as Senator Miller said, it's not a perfect package, but I think it's a package that will move Virginia forward, help bring new jobs to Virginia, take care of our transportation, our infrastructure problems. So, I'm real excited about it, and as I'm sure you're going to ask me, but I'm supportive of this package.
What is there anything in it that is troubling to you, Senator, that you would like to change?
Well, there are a couple things, John, and as you know, we've had some issues in Northern Virginia and also in Hampton Roads with tolls. We're trying to work with the language of the bill so that we can hopefully mitigate some of those tolls. I'm not sure if we'll be able to get that done at the end of the day, but certainly that's a concern of our constituents, especially, again, there in Hampton Roads with the Portsmouth downtown tunnel that I know you're familiar with. So we're working through that. The other thing, I think in time we need to move away from our dependency on fossil fuels, certainly, from other countries. And I'm a little bit disappointed in the $100 fee for alternative fuel vehicles, the hybrids that you mentioned earlier. But, I understand the argument on the other side. And so, again, it's just, something that we've we've discussed and we've agreed to.
Senator Northam, I have a question for you. It's Editorial Director Steve Ray. As we know, over the past 20-plus years, one of the biggest hurdles you've had to get through on this is the fact that the other residents of the Commonwealth really didn't want to pay for big projects in Hampton Roads and Northern Virginia. Are you happy with the regional aspects of this bill?
Yeah, I think there's a couple points I would make. That's a great question, but people around the Commonwealth need to know that they receive their goods, on the through transportation, and so, I would hope that everybody in the Commonwealth would work together on this. But the reality of it is, as you said, that some folks in other parts of the state say, well, we don't have as much of a problem with transportation. So the regional plan, which for Northern Virginia, will bring in an estimated $300 to $350 million, and then in Hampton Roads, $175 to $200 million. I think it's a step in the right direction, and we certainly have projects, for example, in Hampton Roads with all the bridges and tunnels, and certainly they have the same kind of issues up in Northern Virginia with the congestion. So there are projects that need to be done, and so I think this is going to be a helpful way of addressing those issues.
Senator Northam, are you confident that there's 21 votes in the state Senate to get this done?
Well, that's a good question, and I haven't taken a head count. I know the Democratic caucus, there are some that have some concerns, as we've already discussed, but at the end of the day, this is so important for the Commonwealth of Virginia that I think there's going to be bipartisan support today in the Senate. And again, I can't guarantee that, but I look forward to seeing that happen.
Common Sense News Time coming up on 8:47. You're with the John Frederick Show, and we're speaking with Senator Ralph Northam, M.D., from the 6th District of Virginia. He's a Democrat. He's also a candidate for the Democratic nomination for lieutenant governor. That'll be decided in an open Virginia primary in June. Senator Northam, you've been on the forefront of trying to solve our state's Medicaid expansion problem. What is your vision now of seeing that through?
Yeah, well, we've been working on that, John, and I appreciate the question. But there's some issues with Medicaid. It's probably one of the leading sources of revenue and expenditures that come out of our general fund, and so we have an opportunity to expand Medicaid for about 350,000 Virginians who are, by the way, hardworking. I mean, this is not a handout. These are people that are hardworking but don't have salaries that support being able to buy health insurance. So to open up coverage to those folks, if you can provide coverage, then you can address the cost issue. If these people don't have coverage, they're receiving their health care in the emergency room. It's a very inefficient way of receiving care, very expensive, and not good quality care. So, I think we're in a position, whether people are in support of the Affordable Care Act or not, we're in a position where this money is available federally, and I think it'd be short-sighted if we don't take advantage of that.
Dr. Northam, if I could move to politics for a minute. You're running for the Democratic nomination for lieutenant governor. You're basically known as a moderate, a centrist, if you will. You're running against Anish Chopra, who I'm going to easily be able to cast him as a probably a far left-wing candidate. How does your campaign position itself in order to be the nominee?
Well, I appreciate the question, and we've got a great team that I've put together, and I think our message is resonating with folks. But as you said, John, I'm a moderate. I've got a reputation here of being a statesman, working with both sides of the aisle, getting done what's in the best interest of the Commonwealth. And the way I see the lieutenant governor presides over the Senate. That's their number one job. But also we need to keep the economy moving forward. We need to get people to work. And what I really want to do, John, is bring some of our pragmatic roots back to Virginia. I mean, as you know, we've had some sideshows over the last couple of years with these social issues. Yes. That's not what the people of Virginia are interested in. They're interested in having a job, having a home, taking care of their family, making sure their kids are well educated. Those are the things that are important to Virginians, and that's what I'm focused on. And hopefully, as we can move forward, we can work with both sides of the aisle, bring good ideas to the table, and do what's in the best interest of Virginia and get away from some of these social issues that we've been hung up on for the last couple of years.
Now, as it goes to your campaign, by the way, folks, we're speaking to State Senator Ralph Northam, who obviously, during the session here of the General Assembly, cannot raise funds or politic too much under the rules that are laid down here in the Commonwealth. Well, at the end of the short session, sir, how are you set for campaign infrastructure and fundraising ability to unleash the horses starting Monday, or maybe even as early as Saturday?
Yeah, great question. We're going to unleash them on Saturday, John. Hopefully we'll get out of here about 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. We'll wrap up business, and then we're going to take our campaign on the road, and you all are going to see a lot of us up in Northern Virginia. Obviously, there are a lot of voters up there. But we're going to work across the entire Commonwealth. We've got a great message. I've got a great track record of things that I've done. And, we're real excited to leave Richmond on Saturday and get out and talk to folks and listen to what their needs are.
I'm going to ask you to be a handicapper since we just talked about unleashing the horses. As you look at the Magnificent Seven, as we've coined that phrase on the GOP side, is there someone on that side of the aisle that is running for lieutenant governor, the nomination on the GOP side, of course, that you would prefer to run against? Who do you think you have a fair chance of whipping when it comes down in November?
Well, I've got a record that I'm going to run on. Going to take whatever happens as far as the general election. But right now, John, I'm focused on June 11th, the primary, and I've got to put in a good showing in that, and once we get past that, then I'll deal with whoever the Republicans choose to run.
You are a statesman, sir, but I'm going to ask you once again, out of the 7, do you have a preference, regardless of who actually comes up on that ticket?
No, sir, I don't have a preference. We're going to be in good shape coming out of the primary to run against whoever they bring forward.
John?
It's going to be interesting. Now, I do want to mention something. When I talked to Senator Miller the other day, who's supporting your candidacy, he said he was so excited that he's going to go put signs up. So I want you to hold Miller to that. I want to get a picture of him hammering signs in somebody's grass, and I'm going to put it on my Facebook page, Miller Sign-O-Rama. I just want to be sure we follow up on that.
No, I'll make sure I send you a picture. And, John and I go back a long ways. We're seatmates. We were also founders of the Commonwealth Caucus with 2 Republicans, Jill Vogel and Richard Stewart. We're great friends. And, we look forward to continuing that relationship and moving forward for the Commonwealth.
Now, Senator, one of the unique things about your primary on June the 11th is an open primary, which means that if you're a registered voter in the state of Virginia, you can go in and vote in the Democratic primary. What's also interesting with it is that the Republicans are choosing their statewide candidates in a convention, a caucus on May 18th in Richmond. So Republicans will be done. There's no Republicans running in the June primary on the ballot for statewide office. So Republicans like me that typically vote Republican, I'm going to go to the May 18th caucus, vote for the candidates of my choice there. But then here's where I'm really fired up. I can go in and vote again in the June 11th Democratic primary. What do you think of that?
That's great, John. You know what? I look forward. If you want, I will come up and pick you up, and I'll take you to the polls. I think it'd be a good day for both of us.
I'm going to take you up on that.
You know what, John? That is the picture of the year, regardless of what Johnny Miller does. That's the deal right there.
Ralph Northam going to pick me up and my family. Right? I've got my
right.
mom.
Yes, sir.
My mom is
we
going
can
to
have a van, bus, whatever you need. We'll come get you.
I'm going to vote in the Democratic primary. I'm getting picked up, my whole family, on June 11th by Dr. Northam. We're going to take pictures, put it on the internet. I am so excited. I'm beside myself.
State Senator Northam, it's far too long between your visits, and we hope that you'll come back when the General Assembly is out of session and that you're on the campaign trail. It's always good to talk to you. We have too much time in between your visits.
Well, likewise, I appreciate you all having me on this morning. I wish you all the best.
Okay, Senator Ralph Northam, thanks for joining us. Before we sign off, for people that want more information on your campaign, where do they go? What do they do?
Yeah, they can just go on the internet, Ralph Northam for lieutenantgovernor.com, and we'll get them hooked up, and they'll get all the information that they need.
Terrific.
Right.
There we go. Thank you again. State Senator Ralph Northam, the Democrat from the 6th District, one of the two Democratic candidates for the Democratic nomination, obviously, for Virginia Lieutenant Governor in this next election cycle. John?
Okay. It's going to be this transportation package is going to pass. Here's the bottom line. Speaker Howe just said he's got 51 votes, so it's going to pass the House. You look at the makeup of the state Senate right now. We know there's at least one Republican, I would assume, I haven't talked to him, that is going to vote no. I'm conjecturing, and that's Senator Steve Martin from the Chesterfield area, because Senator Martin is a candidate for the Lieutenant Governor of Virginia. He's very conservative. I doubt he's going to be too happy about raising taxes to this extent. So I look for him to vote no. That's at least one Republican senator, which means that it gets a little bit tougher because they need all the Democrats, and some of those will peel off. So no guarantee here they're going to get 21, but sounds like they've got Dick Saslow, they've got Senator Howell, they've got Senator Miller, they've got Senator Northam, who we just came on, and we're going to have to see what the Republican defections are. But I think Speaker Howell summed it up. If this thing doesn't pass the Senate, there's going to be hell to pay, because those senators are going to have to answer the fact that we are going to continue without a transportation plan in the state, sit in traffic with no end in sight, and it's going to continue to eat away at the business opportunities in Virginia. I'm telling you right now, I don't like this plan, the taxes that go behind it. I don't like increasing the sales tax. There's a lot of, I don't like the transportation boards of these two areas that aren't elected deciding. There's a lot of things not to like, but I'm telling you, you got to stand up and be for this, because this is our chance. It's upon us to finally solve this 30-year transportation crisis in Virginia that I'm telling you, if we don't get this thing done in the next several days, it is going to be economic Armageddon for Virginians, because businesses are going to get the hell out of this state because they can't get from point A to point B, goods and services, quality of life. You want to see a shrinking tax base? Virginia will be the shrinking state in the USA. We got to pass this. This is the John Frederick Show.
And tomorrow, just as big of a show as we've had today. On the way for us on the Friday show will be Senator Tim Kaine, along with ForAmerica.org's David Bozell and our real estate and finance guru, Chris Weaver, to put it all into perspective, as well as a little lighthearted look at the Oscars as they come up this weekend with Adam Goyette from the Moving Picture Institute, the MPI.org. That's all ahead on tomorrow's John Frederick Show. And by the way, a reminder, all 3 hours of today's very important show will be up on YouTube and our Facebook page later in the morning. Have yourself a great day. We'll see you bright and surly tomorrow morning here on the John Frederick Show.